Hi guys, welcome back to another GGF video. Now today we're going to be going through a new package that just arrived a few days ago. Now we've received the whole package of brand new Barrow gear. Now if you're not familiar with Barrow, they are a water cooling company. I'm not sure how long they've been around for. I do know that a lot of people are sort of unfamiliar of their presence, what they make, what sort of types of water cooling they make, and recently they just released a catalog which pretty much goes from all the way from GPU blocks, CPU blocks, all the way to tubing, fittings, reservoirs, pump combos, everything like that. So they now have the whole suite of water cooling gear, and we're going to go through, we're going to do a build before Christmas. We need to get this done before we go to head to CES, but this is just a showcase build for the Z270 launch, and Barrow has jumped on board to supply the gear for this build. I have added a few extra items in the delivery, then that's not going in the build, only because I wanted to showcase a few other things, some interesting things that that Barrow have been working on. So first of all, in the package we've got some tubing here. It actually comes in a really nice individual sort of little packet there. It's got their logo on, and this is a really nice sort of kind of feels like that biodegradable material. Now their tubing was interesting. This was 12 mil, standard 12 mil. This is acrylic. I much prefer acrylic. I think acrylic is so much more clearer than PETG. As for people say PETG is stronger, yes it is stronger, but when you're talking about having a PC and if you're taking it in your car, you've got it on your desk, it's not going to break. I've never had acrylic tubing break in a PC or transporting it locally. The only time I've had acrylic break is when I've shipped a PC overseas and the whole PC's been dropped, and it wasn't just the tubing that broke, nearly the whole system inside broke as well. So that's when that happens. Yeah, so this is interesting. It's 12 mil outer diameter, but it's 8 mil inner diameter, so it's a much thicker wall than your previous or other brands have 1210. So that is thicker, so that'll be interesting. Now I did have to grab the silicon insert for that one because I never had a silicon insert for 12.8. I only had 12.10, so that means you need one for 8 millimeter inner. So it will be interesting to bend that to see how, see if there's any difference between bending tubing that has such a smaller inner diameter. Some other things I was really interested in that Barrow's now sort of come out with are some of their reservoirs. They're really bringing the old school T-Virus reservoir back. It's been very hard to find them recently, and now there's another one. Barrow has literally hundreds of them on their website, all different colors, all different sizes, going from your small all the way up to your large ones. Now I won't open this one because they're both the same. Now let's have a look at this one. Now they all come nicely packaged. Now these ones are glass. I'm not sure if these other ones are glass, but I do know that these ones are glass for the reservoir. Okay, so that's it there. So I went with, I'm doing a white sort of bluish build for this one. So this is the color I went, but they have so many different options with these, like the different end caps, the different swivels or sort of the T-Virus look inside. Now what else do you get? I really do like these clear caps, very nice, and they just sort of clip on like so, and that'll hold it on. So you don't need the big clunky ones to go around the whole res. Only probably because these are quite, the outer diameter is quite small compared to your standard reservoirs. As for, you can clearly tell going by the box size that these ones are going to be a much larger diameter reservoir. Now as for model names and all that, being really the first time I've used Barrow, I'm not familiar with everything, so I'm not really going to read everything on the little barcode on the back here, but they have a heap of pictures on their website. It is in Chinese, but it can be translated through the website to English, which helps. So that's another one I've gone with there. Now I can't remember if this was sky blue or lake blue. I'm probably going to say that was sky blue, and no doubt I can probably say that is glass as well. You can just tell by the transparency how clear it is, the weight of it, and how it sounds. And these ones have 3 caps on each end. Now you notice that this one has a tube running through it. Now there is an end cap you can take off. This one it wouldn't really work, but you can. They also sell RGB RGB and cold cathode inserts. So you can see them in here. These are in protective tubes. You don't sort of use these. These look like some little pipe bomb sort of thing, but you take these off and then you just got your RGB little insert like that. So now that would simply screw up into the reservoir. Now, as I said, it wouldn't work on this one purely because this inner center is like a solid brass chrome, but there are clear ones. So when you insert that up, you've got your RGB on the inside. And same with these T-Virus ones. This is the sort of the old school cathode setup back in the day when they were really popular. So then you just insert this, screw in the cap like so, and now you've got a UV cold cathode going all the way up there. Now that's really nice, very simple. It's not going to leak. They've got plenty of sort of looks like a rubber sort of tab on there, and it's used as the stop fitting. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do you control that? Well, that comes with their with your sort of neon UV lights. If I can open this, they come with the sort of inverter controller box. So that simply plugs into there. It can run 2, which is nice, and then you use Molex for that. So that is nice. So that's how you control those ones. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use in the build. I'm still debating whether to use each one, which one. I'll be using 2. I'm just not sure which one, but I'll definitely be covering the other one I don't use in a build, probably in like another video, just to see how it all goes. I'm just going to put all this, and with this, the larger reservoir, you do get the larger brackets that do sort of wrap around. These ones have been around for a while. If I can undo it, and then these ones just go over the top and seal it like that. Now, if you're wondering, with the RGB light that runs in the center, they do have the controllers for those, and they're just like your standard remote control with, if you've ever used RGB strips before, they just use their remote control with the little RGB controller and so on. So that's a nice little touch. They're doing a lot of RGB stuff, especially with their CPU blocks. I've noticed some of their GPU blocks are now coming out all RGB. So that is a nice touch. And if you don't want RGB, well, it's not too bad, because then you can just choose a single color. Instead of having a GPU block come out in 10 different lighting colors, they can just make one and make it RGB. Now, speaking of blocks, now unfortunately they didn't have a GPU block for the card. We had a NVIDIA 1070 Founders Edition we're using in this build, and unfortunately they don't have a block for that, so I'll just have to use something I've already got. But as for CPU wise, this is one of the Halo Energy ones, limited edition. I went with the blue one. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get the blues right. As you can see, this is the blue I kind of want for the build, and that's the blue. I should have just gone with the black one, but I thought I'd try the blue, and you can see how sort of off the blues are. But nonetheless, I'll probably paint the top white. I'm pretty sure if I just undo these 4 screws, I'll be able to paint the top, take that off, prime it, paint it white, and then that'll go with the rest of the build. Now this is RGB, and this looks insane once it's hooked up. There's actually, I like how sort of low profile the whole RGB is. It's just a simple 4-pin cable runs out. You could hide that around the back and you wouldn't even know. Now this whole area lights up, all through these holes lights up, and now you've got your little controller on here as well. You've got mode and your speed, but you could also attach, I just noticed that that's just the standard, that's the same connection as the RGB connection we just opened for the res. So if you swap this one out, you could put this one in for the res, because this controller has no buttons on it, because you use the remote instead. So that's actually a nice little option if you want to make it completely RGB wireless, instead of having to use this little controller here. So yeah, that's it for the block. It was a nice touch where they wrote just for Stuart Tonks on the side of it. It is a shame I'm going to be painting it, but yeah, nice touch that they did that, and it's got a really nice base and it's nice and thick as well. So we'll see how that goes in the build. All right, so that's the reservoirs. Another interesting thing with this block, it actually mounts from the back of the board. So you put it on the board flip the board upside down and then you screw it in from the back of the board. So that is interesting. I'm not sure how well that's going to go. I guess for a test bench scenario, you're swapping CPUs, it's going to be a no-go because you don't want to be lifting your motherboard up every time to try and get the CPU block off. Now this is a radiator. I didn't even know they did radiators. I've just got one radiator for this build. It's in the InWin 303. So we'll just stick one rad up the top. Now this is the Dabble 45. So 45 millimeters is what I wanted. That's the thickness. I didn't want to go for a 60 millimeter thick rad, only because in the 303, if you're familiar, up the top, you don't have a huge amount of room. By the time you add the rad, standard 25 millimeter fans, you're nearly hitting the glass front panel or side panel. Okay, we've got screws. Looks like standard rad thread screws. You've got Allen key, so you've got long ones and short ones. So one's for fans going through to the rad, and then one's just if you're screwing the rad onto, say, a rad grill or somewhere on the case. Now looking at this here, actually interesting design. I do like rads that are more sort of squarish on the corners, not really curved. This reminds me more of sort of the EK sort of style with the rads. But yeah, that is nice. You've got a drain port down at the bottom there. No doubt you won't be able to use that within the loop because it won't work in the same channeling. And then you've just got the two on one side. Interesting how they've just opted with two on one side. They haven't gone with top and the other side, but that will be enough for what I need to do in this build. Fins per inch looks standard. It's not like real fine like I've seen some rads, but this seems to be the standard one. They go for less fins per inch these days to use more silent operations than real large fin count like they used to do, I think, back in the old days. All right, I think that's the bulk of the things. Then we'll go through fittings. Actually, one more thing. This thing weighs a ton. This is a DDC pump top, which I assume is fully machined out of one block of billet, or it looks like inside's brass, so that'll be brass. That's just insane. I don't know how much that would weigh, but probably weighs, I would probably say about 500 grams, that bit. So yeah, that's standard. DDC goes underneath, and that's just your pump top. So that's really nice, very heavy. And then you've got all your screws for it. Now moving on to this thing. This is a valve. I'm not sure if I'll use a valve in the build. I just wanted to check out what their quality of their valve was. A lot of them do say not to start twisting it until you've actually put it in your loop and you've got coolant on, only because it's like some of them use a ball bearing. I don't really want to turn this, and if it's like dry, you can sometimes sort of snap it inside. So I'll just leave that as is. Sometimes they do state, so you can't use it until you've got your loop or set up or something. All right, now we'll start off with some of the fittings we've gone through. We posted up on Facebook the other day. They've some really cool fittings they've released. These ones here I just saw. These ones are like a gemstone. Really nice little gem. There's probably like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say there's about 30 edges on that. It really just looks like some sort of gem or diamond. So that's a really nice little fitting there. Definitely not for everyone, but it's just something I thought that would look cool, and I might try and use it in this build as well. Now these ones here, you may have seen. No, that one's not it. I'm trying to find this other little packet. This one here. Nope. I know it's in here somewhere. This one, here we go. Now these ones, when I saw these a little while ago, these resemble a clock. This whole stop fitting now, bear in mind it is quite a large stop fitting, bit bigger than your standard one. So if you put this on here, it's still all right. When you think of something compared to that one, it is larger, but it actually is fully moving like a clock or a watch sort of construction. Little bits move, the little gears move, and that's just insane. So something if you're doing a steampunk build or something like that, just something a little bit different than just a standard black stop fitting. So it's really showing you how far water cooling is sort of going in towards all this modding and customizing different colors and things like that. Now this one here is just a simple pressure release valve. If you're not familiar with these, when you do a water cooling loop, different coolants you use, different components you use, you do get pressure buildup every now and then. So it is nice too, if you don't have a pressure valve, you can just always on a reservoir every now and then just undo the cap. Sometimes you hear like a little sort of pss of pressure come out. Sometimes you don't hear anything, but they've made it easy now. A lot of companies are doing these. Instead of having to release something, you just push down and it just releases any air out. So that's nice. I often add one of those in most of my sort of builds. Moving on to some of the other parts. Now these ones are actually quite new. I always thought Barrow just did like the push-in fittings, like the 12mm push-in for your fittings, but these ones are compression fittings now, so they actually look really nice. I've tried to match this blue, or that kind of looks similar. It kind of looks the same as that one, so it should match quite nicely. And these ones are simply just compression hard tube fittings, so your hard tube fitting goes in and then this just goes over the top and locks it in. So they look really nice, and they're releasing a lot of colors. I think this fitting came in, I think it was at least 10 colors you could choose from, like pinks, greens, reds, blues, 2 blues, white, black, chrome, all these different colors, so it was really nice. These ones here are standard, let's see, double rotary 90-degree angles, just like that. I do like using those, they come in handy. Not just for doing right angles, but if you have an area where you're trying to go from CPU to a GPU block and it's a little bit off, you just rotate this up and now you can do it like that, and now you just moved your hole over from this point over to about 1 centimeter to that point. And then if you spin it around, you can fine tune it and get that exact spot. So that's a nice little trick you can do doing that. These ones here are a multi-port, 1, 2, 3, 3 sort of ports. So you go in, and then if you want to add sort of a drain port, I do normally add these like this. I normally get a joiner, and then you can keep your loop going, and then you can add your drain port. They're all the same fittings in here. That's more of those multi ones. These ones here, these ones are all white now. I decided to go with all the end fittings for the tube to be blue, and then all your sort of interconnecting sort of angles or straights or pass-throughs to be white. I don't think I've done that before, so these ones here are just a 20mm extender. I always grab extenders because you never know, especially things like coming off your CPU block and you want to do a straight 90 coming over your memory. You really do, by the time you just add one of these, it's not enough to clear your memory, but if you just add it on an extender like that, that's normally enough to reach over your memory. Unless you've got some crazy stuff like a Vexia or something, then you might need a few of these if you're running the rating series, because that stuff is really high. This one here is a 45. I don't often use 45s, but it does come in handy. And if you're not going to use 45s, you can, or you don't need for them, you can simply join 2 together, and then you've got a double rotary 90. So you can still use that if you run out of 90 degrees. What's this one in here? Some pass-through fittings or bulkheads as they're called. I will be passing tubes through to the back. You're probably familiar, a lot of my builds do that. Now the Inwin 303 has just enough room. I have had to move a lot of the motherboard tray, add my own one in a bit thicker, so that'll push these towards the left side panel a bit more, so I can fit tubes around the back. Now these are just white, which I've gone with those. Standard just pass-through fittings. What else do we have here? I think that's getting towards the end of it. This is a 10. Yeah, so this is a 10mm extender, just like that. So I like to add a few 20mm extenders and a few 10mm extenders just to help out in certain areas. And I think this is the last lot here. Yeah, so these are some more 90 degrees, but you can clearly see the differences. These ones are more of a curved, they give you the bend in the middle for flexibility. These ones are just purely a sharp 90. So sometimes, depending on the build, I try to keep it as all the bends being used with the sharp ones, or all the bends being used with the nice curved ones. I don't really normally like to mix it up, but of course, if I don't have enough of each, I normally just have to go with using all of them. All right, anyway, that seems to be it. These are just all the same again. I've gone through all the fittings, all the different hardware we're using. Any hardware I don't use, I'll be probably covering separately in either another build or on their own. I'm really keen to see how this looks with some UV reactant coolant, whether or not I use it in this build. I think I am going to go towards this for the build I'm doing now with this Barrow gear, only because I just think it'll be faster to set up, because I literally only got about another 2 days to finish this build, whereas I want to spend some time on this, do some nice shots of it and see how it all works. But yeah, I think I'll throw this one in purely because it'll just be a little bit faster, and it does go with the theme just a little bit better. Anyway, that's pretty much it on this video. It's probably gone for about 20 minutes or so. I want to thank Barrow for sending this gear out for me to use. Thanks for you guys watching, and stay tuned, and I'll get the build video and some photos of the final build up probably just before Christmas, or actually no, Christmas is like 2 days ago, 2 days to go. So probably start of January I'll have the build up. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for next time.